There it is. All right. So thanks so much for joining us today. We're going to talk a little bit about BHCyp and what membership and applications look like this year. So really excited to have both Kayla and Sarah here with us. Kayla is our current chair, and Sarah is our vice chair for the 2021 BHCyp board. So we're really glad to have both of you ladies here. Thanks so much for donating your lunch hour to me. I appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Oops, I went back. I need to go forward. Okay, so we're kind of here today just to talk a little bit casually about what BHCyp is and what it would look like for someone who's considering joining. So I'm just going to kind of pose a couple questions to each of you ladies, and we'll just respond, and then we'll see if there's any more questions that come through. So I'm going to start by asking, what made both of you decide to get involved with BHCyp in the first place? And I'll ask Sarah first, and then Kayla, I'll ask you next. Same question. So what made you decide to get involved?
Sure. So service and community work has always been important to me. For most of my young professional life, I did that kind of work overseas. And in 2019, I made the decision to move back to my hometown of Richmond and take a job at Capital One. And one of the reasons I was excited to move home was to apply some of the passion and skills that I've cultivated over the years to the community right in my backyard. So I'm lucky enough to call Richmond my hometown and now my current home, hopefully my home for a long time. And I couldn't think of a better way to serve the community than by doing work with an organization that strives for equity amongst all of our community members when it comes to housing.
Awesome. Kayla, same question to you. Why did you initially decide to get involved?
Sure. So kind of the same reason as Sarah, service was kind of just a big part of my life. I always volunteered through high school. And then in college, I was involved with Habitat for Humanity the whole time I was at Randolph-Macon. And so I just knew I wanted to stay involved in some kind of housing nonprofit. So right when I graduated, I stayed here in the Richmond area. And so I immediately just started researching, any kind of group or way I could be involved with housing nonprofits in the area. And, BHC was kind of one that just kind of came across my screen, and, the rest is kind of history because that was 5 years ago and it's crazy. But yeah, so just kind of that aspect of service and being involved in the community in a bigger way.
Great, thank you. Kayla, I'll ask this next question to you. Since you've been a member for 5 years, which is awesome and amazing, how has your life been enriched by board service?
Yeah, so I think I've told this story, a couple times this year to different groups, but when I first started out on the board, I was young, I was out of college. I kind of was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. I made a couple career changes. And, I probably wasn't as involved as I could have been at the beginning of my board service. And, someone told me from the beginning, like, you get into it, you get out of it what you put into it. And so that kind of just was like my light bulb moment. Like, I need to put more effort into this and dedicate more of my time and put more of my effort into this. And so when I did that, the results just came. I was able to get some leadership positions and kind of work my way up through the board. And, through all of that, I've learned better leadership qualities. I've learned better, speaking qualities in front of groups. I used to be terrified of speaking in front of groups, and, I feel much more comfortable with it now. I feel much more comfortable with myself. I've really fostered some great relationships, both with other board members and some of the BHC board members and the BHC staff. So just all the things, I feel like, when you put that effort in and you put that time in, you're going to get good things out of it.
Oh, what a good answer. Love that. Thanks, Kayla. So Sarah, I'm going to ask you a question. What was your favorite project or activity that you worked on during your time with the board?
Sure. We have a lot of cool projects and activities, ranging from just like kind of organizational management and planning fun events, especially in a time when we were in person, not in person. But I'm a returned Peace Corps volunteer, and so I like to get my hands dirty and actually do work beyond sitting around a conference table. And so I didn't necessarily get my hands dirty, but I had the opportunity to write an opinion piece that was published in the Richmond Times-Dispatch just prior to the 2020 local elections. It was kind of written on behalf of the Better Housing Coalition Young Professionals Group, just asking voters to think about the policies and ideas that candidates have around affordable housing when you go to cast your vote. It's a really important issue, especially in local elections. It was my favorite project, one, because it was really challenging. I had not really stretched my brain muscles in those ways in a long time, probably since, undergrad or high school. And it was just it was a really cool opportunity to represent our group, the organization as a whole, and then also to promote the mission. So it had some added benefits in that, elementary school teachers that I had were reaching out to me, reconnecting because they saw my name and email in the local paper, and even professionally, it served me well, as higher up executives at my company were able to see that splashed across their iPads or their newspapers. So that was probably my favorite. Another really awesome project, though, was in this photo. We're building picnic tables for use at a senior housing facility that is operated by BHC, and using a drill is really fun. I loved it.
Learning new skills all the time.
Yeah.
I love it. Thanks, Sarah. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of get into a little bit of the nuts and bolts of BHCyp. So these are kind of just some commonly asked questions that I'm just going to pose, and you guys can just hop in and answer. So people always ask, do I need to know about housing to get involved with BHCyp?
I'll answer this because I think it's a great question. I think housing and any of these other things on the screen, networking, service, fundraising, I don't think you really have to have any experience in any of those. We have folks come in from all different kinds of fields of work, and it's really what the YP members, I think, bring into the board, that they can kind of plug into those different areas, and then learning about what Better Housing Coalition does and how affordable housing, affects our community and impacts our community, is just something that you kind of learn from the beginning, and then you kind of plug that into all these different things that you do, and the skills that you bring in as well.
I just add, you don't have to know about it, but we certainly hope that you care about it. I think at the core, the why behind all of it is the belief that, access to safe and affordable housing is a human right. It should be experienced in our community.
Well said, ladies. Okay, the next one is the sticky one Sarah and I were laughing about earlier. Is there an age limit for a young professional?
No. I mean, I joined right out of graduating college. So, you know, even from that spectrum. And when I joined, I mean, there were folks on the board who were more into their careers than I was, and, you know, vice versa. So no, I don't think that, I mean, while yes, I think that there is a limit on it, and we don't really put like a said number on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And no matter what point you are in your career, like starting out or more mid-level,
Yep.
you can learn from the other folks. I would say I'm on the older spectrum of the age range. And you know, the only thing that I've noticed is that sometimes I don't understand how to do like the Instagram stuff as easily as the younger
Thank God
folks.
we don't have a TikTok.
True.
Oh, I love it. Okay, next one is, are there dues to join?
So there's not. But something that we've really implemented and kind of tried to emphasize, especially over the past couple years, is everyone giving monetarily in some way. So you're giving back with your time that you're giving to the board. And you're also expected at some point to support either one of our fundraisers that we do, or you know, even just give a small amount for your yearly donation. No amount is too small when it comes to fundraising. So
Absolutely. And we have lots of different options. Like Sarah has opted to do monthly giving, and Kayla always does her annual gift. So we have lots of different ways for people to give. All right. What is the time commitment of a general board member?
so
Yeah, general. So like a non-leadership role
Right.
per month, like 3 to 5 out, 2 to 6, probably around 3 hours a month. But a little more if you volunteer or ask to step up for a leadership position. And those are, you know, what you would expect from an organization like this. So like chair, vice chair. We do have like membership engagement, leadership role. We like records, so secretary. And then for the different events throughout the year, we do ask folks to like step up and be a team lead in that for those events. Am I missing anything else, Kayla?
I don't think so. Yeah, then you put it very well. That, you know, it's, if you're just going to be a member, especially if it's just your first year, you know, coming to the meetings and, you know, giving your input in the planning that we do for our events, and then also showing up where you can at the certain events and fundraisers that we do. And then, you know, yeah, putting in a couple more extra hours a month if you're in a leadership position. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, the last question I have, last formal question, I guess, is what will meetings and activities look like as we return to a more in-person format? I guess I'll pose that to Sarah because she's going to be our chair next year. So how about that?
Sure. So right now we're operating under the assumption that things are going to trend in a positive way. And we'll stay on track with kind of what we've been experiencing this past quarter, which are options for in-person or like call-in via Zoom meetings. And then for the actual events, we would hope that those would be in person. Looking back on the past year, we did have events that were outdoors, such as the bike tour. And so folks were able to be socially distant and wear masks. And then in the summer months, we had some fun events just for the YP, where we gathered at some of the awesome outdoor breweries in the Richmond area. And then, you know, moving into the colder months, we've just left it up to people's own comfort level. but we obviously need to follow all the CDC guidelines, and then also kind of what Better Housing Coalition as an organization, we would want to try to follow their lead as well. You know, pending any new variants or surges related to the pandemic.
Awesome, thank you. Sorry for the interruption from my dog.
No.
Okay, that's awesome. Well, those are the formal questions that I have. So I just checked our social feeds and I didn't see any additional questions come in. I know we've got a couple people on the call. So if there are any additional questions, you can either unmute and ask or chat. But otherwise, I'm just going to give like a quick rundown of the application process really quickly. Applications are due at, I guess, I always say midnight, but that's kind of confusing. 11:59 p.m. on the 5th. That's this coming Sunday. The link to apply is on this slide, the bit link, or you can just search Better Housing Coalition Young Professionals on your favorite search engine, and all the information's there on our website. If you have any questions, you can email me directly. I didn't ever really introduce myself. I'm sorry. I'm Sarah Fernald. I'm the Director of Community Engagement for Better Housing Coalition. And I have the awesome job of getting to be the staff person dedicated to this group of folks. So I can answer pretty much any question you have about BHCyp, especially if you think of something after the fact. You can send me an email, or I can connect you with Sarah Brooks and Kayla. And you can always follow us on social media for kind of more up-to-date information. So we're on Instagram and Twitter, BHC_RBA, and then on Facebook, Better Housing Coalition. So yay, that's really it. So unless there are any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and we'll sign off. And we hope that you guys will apply. Oh, I see something. No questions. Okay, so thank you so much. We will hopefully hear from you guys and get some interest in our board membership. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of these lovely ladies. Really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah's.
You're welcome.